everyone, this is Bev from Art by Bedell. We have a very rainy day here in Pennsylvania, and it is kind of relaxing because it's just raining like a nice, soft, gentle rain, and it's soothing, I guess. And those are sometimes the kind of day that I like to sit in my art studio and just work away. Crafting. I have this page today in our Christmas journal that I would like to share with you, and we are going to build it together with using file tab folders. They're not folders, file tabs, dividers. They're dividers. There's a small one. We have two different sizes that we're working with. And I have had to cut this one down to size because it was too big for the journal page. This one I also cut down a little bit in size. But here we go. It has 2 pockets and 2 tags in it. So let's get started. So we have a page that we're going to make this on, and it is actually the page that is opposite the other side of the page that we put our mini envelope journal on. So we're going to work on the back side of the opposite page, and that is the craft paper. So we'll fold this up. This is the side that we're going to work on. And we want to attach this large tab divider onto the page. And let's see, do I want that tab on top? I think I want that tab on the bottom because, let me see. Yeah, because we will be having a tab on our tag up here, and to have one there and one here, just, we're going to put it on the bottom anyhow, regardless. So there we go. Let's ink up around the edge of that with our vintage oxide photo, and that's going to go on like this, but we need to tear from here down to about here so that we can make a pocket in the top. So we'll just take this, and it's kind of hard to tear because it is very thick. Oh, it's not cardboard, but very thick cardstock. I don't know the weight of it. So there we have our first pocket. Now, before we glue that down, we want to stamp, and I have this script stamp. It is by, let me see here, The Artful Stamper, and they're also from Canada. And it just gives a phone number here, not a number on this stamp. But it says something like, the stars are shining in the sky, the something lies, oh, it must be snow, lies white all around. May the glistening spirit of the season fill your heart with love. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. So I want to take this, and I'm going to set my page aside for a moment. And I'm going to take my Versamark ink pad here and ink up my stamp and stamp it on my tab divider. Now you can see this a little bit, and I'm going to get it as close as I can with trying not to overlapping it. There we go. One more. And then we'll take gold embossing powder and we'll sprinkle all over the whole card. And if you miss spots, it's okay. It's all right, guys. There we have that. And we need to heat set that. So I see I missed a spot here. I'm okay with that. I apparently must have smeared a little bit of the Versamark ink because there's a gob of embossing powder there. I'm okay with that. So there we go. Let's take it now and attach it to our page here. And I'm going to attach it down the 3 sides, leaving this tab sticking out beyond our craft paper here. And I am going to use my art glitter glue. Now to create our second pocket, we're going to use this tab divider here, ink up around the edges. And then for the stamp that I want to put on here, I have chosen this one, and it is a magenta stamp, and it's 98003K. And I'm going to ink it up with Versamark and stamp it twice across the top of my tab divider. emboss that in gold. And heat set it. There we go. Now I want to color this, add some color to the top of that. And I have chosen to use my Lyra Aqua Color watercolor crayons. And I have a red and a green here, a little bit of water, and I'm going to very loosely add color just by rubbing my wet paintbrush onto my crayon and adding some color to my stamped image here. You don't even have to fill it all the way in. Just get some color on there. Get it with the berries here. And then go to my green crayon and get the leaves. Here we go. Now I'll just quickly take my heat gun to that to dry that. And this is going to be our second pocket, and it's going to rest right down here. I'm going to glue that on with some of my 3-in-1 glue. And I'm going to do the 2 short sides and across the bottom. Put that in place. Hold it for just a second or two. I will be stitching these on, so I don't have to make sure that it's holding perfectly, just enough to keep it in place while I finish this before I go over to the sewing machine. Now to embellish this card, I want to add a piece of ledger paper. We're working kind of like with office supplies today. We have our file tabs here, and then we're going to have some ledger paper with some numbers on it. And you say, well, what does that have to do with Christmas? Well, probably nothing other than I like the way it looks on a junk journal page, and so I'm going to incorporate it in on my Christmas page. I'll go around the edge of that and glue that down with my art glitter glue. There we go. And then over on this other side, I want to add some lace. So I've chosen this piece of lace, and I'm going to put it here. Now I'm going to glue this down, and I'm going to hit the spots where I have the threads in a pattern that are closer together, because that's going to hold my glue better. If you've been listening to me on any of my other videos, then you'll know that this is the way I do this, and it seems to work that way with this very open weave lace. And it also helps the fact that I do take and catch it with my sewing when I do some sewing around my tag, my pocket. There we go. Now we need to find a focal point for on here, and I also have some ribbon that I want to add, some trim that I want to add to the bottom of this. But I think I want to add my trim after I sew it down. That trim would be hard to sew through. So let's look through our ephemera and see what we can find that we think would be really nice here. How about these cute little birds with the birdhouse? That would be really cute. And then can we find anything that would coordinate to go on our tags? That would go on our smaller tag. And then something for our bigger tag. It would be another bird, maybe this one. So I've decided to go with this cardinal that's sitting on the fence line here. I'm going to ink that up, and then I'll glue that on with my art glitter glue, just like that. Hold that down in place for a few moments. Okay, that completes this pocket until I get it stitched, and then I'll add that trim to it. So let's make a couple of tags. I have a piece of my master board that I can use for a tag. And so I'll ink up the edges of that. I'm going to trim off this that's hanging over, looking a little raggedy. I don't mind raggedy. It has its place, but that just wasn't its place. And then we'll stamp our journaling lines on that also. And put a poinsettia on it. Partial poinsettia. And I want to have the poinsettia, the white one that was embossed with the white embossing paste on top. And I also want to add a tab across the top. So on the first one that I did, I put a piece of coffee stained copy paper as a header up on top of our tag. So let's ink up around the edge of that. So that will go there. Then I took a scrap piece of that lace that we have, and I'm going to put that across the top. Now it's a little wide, so let's just cut a piece off. And again, we'll glue it down using the pieces where the threads are gathered together closer. Put some glue on our coffee paper here, and then take our lace and apply that to the top. And then what we're using for a tab on this is a little ticket. Here we go. Ink it up. And I'm going to ink up the back side too, in case some of that shows through, because we're going to fold this over. It'll be on the front and the back side like this. One side will be upside down, but that's okay. I'll put that on the back. And then we're going to take it and we're going to set it down here. And I'm going to glue that on because in the end I'm going to be stitching there. So the glue will hold it and then the stitching will secure it. And that goes on the top like that. So there's our tab. And then we need a little focal point down here, although that is really pretty enough. And it could be just let go with just like maybe a word or something on there. I like to add a little bit more. So let's find, we picked out something with the birds, and I had picked out a littler one for this tag. And so we'll use this one. And then we have a cardinal here, and then we have this little yellow bird over here, but he needs to have something to rest on. So how about a piece of this red paper? This piece is too big, so I'm going to tear it down a little and put it here and then put the bird. And now we can also give the bird a little word or two here. And I have some of these little tags from Calico Collage. Let's put on North Pole with this one. And I'm going to layer that onto a piece of the coffee stained copy paper that we had ripped off for trimming something else down and saved the pieces. A little bit of glue on the back of it and put it right on here like this, and then tear that and give it a little more ink on that side. So let's glue this piece of paper down, and that's going to go in the bottom left hand corner, just like that. And let's see, here's our bird. He needs to be inked up around. And the art glitter glue applied to every little piece that sticks out so that he's firmly glued down and doesn't get caught on something and pulled off. There he is. And then we'll glue our word down. Oops, we don't want it upside down. And let's put it like right across here. So that also is ready to be stitched. So we'll set that aside and work on our big journaling card now. Now, I did not slip that in there to make sure it would fit. We probably should make sure it's going to fit, which I was pretty sure, but you should make sure they're going to fit, which it does. It fits right, quite nicely in here. Now, we need to make a, let's see what we have here. This is obviously too big. Do I have anything smaller? Cut. No. So, we need to make this the right size to go in there, and if I do it this way, then it's too short. So I'm going to have to do it this way. So let's get the length we want it, and I want the poinsettia at the top. So I'm going to take it and fold it down and cut that off. Now in doing so, I'm going to end up cutting off this other poinsettia over here, but we can use that for another project sometime. So let's just fold this over and cut that off. Now we have an appropriate size tag for our pocket here. Let's ink up around the edges of it and get our lines stamped on the back for journaling. Put a poinsettia on. So we'll add across the top another header with a piece of our, there we go, leftover coffee stain paper. I do tend to use a lot of my leftovers, my little ripped pieces like this, for headers, for snippets, for tags, for tabs. And then in the end of my project, when I'm done with my project, I don't have just like a whole mess of them just laying everywhere. So if we use them up as we go, it works for me. And a piece of lace across the top of there. And I'm going to trim this up just a little bit. We have excess over here. And we'll use another one of these tags. We use the bells. And then I'll fold that in half. Choose what side I want on the front. And on this one, I'm going to go with this side. And then I will glue it in place right there. So I'll add some glue to the inside top and the inside bottom of this label. And that will hold it until I stitch around it. Now for the bottom of our tag, I have some of this magenta paper. It is called Maruyama paper and it's festive red. And I'm going to just tear some of this. It leaves a really nice torn edge on it. That's a little bit big, so let's tear off this part here and save it for another project. There we go. Has some gold flecks in it. All right, now randomly I'm just going to add some glue around here and then pat this paper down on top of it like this. In some spots I need to add some more. There we go. And then on top of that, I want to add one of those art trading cards. I have this one, which is the same that I put on the one for the sample. So that's going to go there. And then I want to put one of those labels behind it. And I'm going to use this one. I'm going to ink up the edges of all of these. Do a little bit of layering here, like this. Get a word to put on there. Let's do December. Let's get a piece of the paper, the coffee stain paper, scrap, ink up around the edge of that, and I'll glue my word to my scrap here. I'm going to use my 3-in-1 glue to glue down on top of this Maruyama paper. Put that down on the left-hand corner, and I'm going to use the same glue for this ATC card. I think fabric tack would work just as well. And then I'll put that up just a little bit. And then I can put my word on top. And let's go like right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch all around the outside edge of this. And then I'm going to stitch around the art trading card. The Maruyama paper needs a little extra help to get it to stick in. And so I feel if I stitch around it, then it's going to hold it in place and it's not going to go anywhere. And then neither is anything else for that fact. So I'll take my two new cards that I made and my page over to the sewing machine and do the stitching, and then I'll be back. The stitching is all done and I want to add that red trim across the bottom here, and I'm going to use my 3-in-1 glue for that and put a stream of it right across the bottom of my bottom pocket here. And that holds quite nicely, that trim. So that finishes the bottom pocket there. And our card is finished. And it tucks down inside here like this. And then our bigger card is also finished. All the stitching done. And it tucks down inside here. Now, I have to admit that I forgot on my last project that we did to do the splattering. So I have to do the splattering on this project here and also on the last project. I want to balance out my craft paper page. And because I had this heavy piece of ephemera on this side, which is the mini envelope journal, I wanted to put something heavier on this side, the opposite side of our page. And then in my journal, that will tend to balance it out a little bit. And these file dividers are made of heavier cardstock. So that did the trick for me. So I hope you like that. That is a completed page. I will probably add something to here at some point before the journal is done, and maybe something to here also. But for now, we're going to consider this finished. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this project. And we'll dig out some of the file dividers for your journal page and make some pockets out of it. We shall see you again when we do another page in our Christmas journal. You have a wonderful weekend, guys. Bye now.